Hey barbecue family, welcome back to my Backyard Smokemaster Barbecue channel. I'm Kenyatta Robinson. I heard from a lot of you that you'd like to see more videos with me cooking on my PK360. So today we're going to do St. Louis spare ribs. I got these spare ribs from Creekstone Farms, and one of the things that I really love about their St. Louis spares is that once you take them out of the cryovac packaging, there is very little that needs to be done. I'm going to remove the membrane from these ribs, and then I'll probably just take off those last two tiny little bones that are at the end of the slab. They don't really make for good eating, so I'm just going to cut those off, and that will really be all that I need to do to these ribs other than getting them seasoned. So currently, my favorite rub combination for ribs are two rubs that come from Meat Church Barbecue. So for the first layer, we're gonna do the honey bacon barbecue rub. And then I'm gonna follow that up with their fajita rub. So I'm going to get a layer of both of these rubs on both sides of the ribs, and then while I work on getting my PK360 up to temperature, I'll let those rubs sweat out the meat. It's going to make for some really flavorful smoked spare ribs that my family will love once they're all done. We're going to keep the PK360 between 225 and 275 using lump charcoal, and then I'm also using some apple wood chunks as well as hickory. So stick around, I'll show you how it's done. So we've got the PK360 set up for 2-zone cooking. I'm using my kick ash basket. As you can see over on the right side is where I've got some hot lump charcoal, and we're gonna have the ribs over on the left side. I put a drip pan inside, and I'm going to add some warm water. So that'll help stabilize the temperature inside of the cooker as well as catch any drippings, try and keep it from becoming too messy inside. So next I'm going to let this grill grate warm up, and then I'm going to clean it. I'm just going to take a ball of aluminum foil, run it across the top of the grates to get rid of the remnants from the last cook. Then we'll work on bringing the PK up to temperature, looking to smoke these ribs somewhere between 225 and 275. I'll be okay as long as the temperature stays in that range. So we're going to get this closed up for now, let it heat up some, and then we'll take care of the next steps. I want the intake underneath the coals to be open. The other intake I'm going to leave closed. The exhaust that's over the meat is going to be open, and we'll keep this one over here closed. Alright guys, the PK is up at around 260 degrees, so we're going to go ahead and get the slab of ribs on the smoker. So again, while we prepared the PK, we went ahead and allowed that rub to sweat on the meat. So that's why it's kind of got a little bit of a wet look across most of it. And you see in the PK, so one end here is much closer to the coals, the lit coals, than the other end. So I think what I'm going to do is once every hour, I'm going to rotate the position of the slab. So after 1 hour, I'm just going to take it and flip it around so that the other end can be closer to the coals, and hopefully that'll help everything cook a little bit more evenly. Also, with this 2-zone setup, notice that we really don't have a whole lot of coals in the basket. So we'll also be paying attention to see how quickly these coals burn down. I anticipate that this is going to be at least a 4-hour cook, maybe as much as 6. So at some point, I may need to add more charcoal to the fire basket as the little amount that we have here may burn down. All right, let's get this closed up. I'm going to come back in 1 hour and rotate the slab. All right, barbecue family, the ribs have been on the smoker for 1 hour. So let's take a look. The PK has done a great job of holding temperature. We've consistently been in the 240 to 250 range, which I'm completely good with. Looks like we're doing okay with the coal. Don't need to do any replenishing. So as I mentioned, look, we're already getting a little pullback on this little small rib on the edge here. So as I mentioned, what we want to do after that first hour is rotate these ribs, and hopefully we can get this side to cook evenly with the other side. Let's get it closed back up. Hopefully the PK will bounce back to that 240 range. All right, so we're gonna check again on these ribs in 1 hour to take a look at the color, as well as whether or not the rub has set. And then also we'll make a decision as to whether or not we want to spritz the ribs with apple cider vinegar or not. Alright guys, so shortly after I got everything closed up, I noticed that my temperature on the PK started to fall, and it actually fell all the way down to 217 degrees. So what I decided to do was basically open everything up. So in addition to having the intake under the charcoal open, as well as this exhaust over the meat, I also opened up completely the other intake and the other exhaust. So kept everything wide open. That helped the temperature climb up about 10 degrees. Like right now we're at 226, and I'm good with that. I'm good as long as that temperature is, you know, in the 225 to 275 range. I'm good. So I'm going to continue to just leave everything completely wide open for now. So again, I just wanted to give that little tidbit of something you can do when you do find your temperature start to drop, and it's not because you're running out of fuel. You know, basically, again, oxygen creates heat. So what we decided to do here was to open up everything to get more oxygen going inside of the PK to help bring that temperature up. Alright guys, so now we're a little bit more than 2 hours into the cook. So the last hour I definitely had some temperature struggles, and what I did after I opened up all the vents is I did come back and I just kind of moved the coals around a little bit to see if that helped. That gave me a little temporary spike in temperature. But to be on the safe side, I'm going to go ahead and add some fresh charcoal here. So I got my chimney, added a little bit of charcoal, and let it burn for about 20 minutes. So we're just gonna add it here. So also, I'm still looking for, the bark to set on these ribs, and I also want to get a nice mahogany color on them before I move to the next step. So I'm not going to rotate them again because I feel like they didn't really cook at a high temperature over the last hour. But I am going to do a little spritzing here with some apple cider vinegar. So in terms of the next step, there are a couple of options, right? I could either let them continue to go on the smoker completely unwrapped, or if I do want to try to get them finished a little bit quicker, which is the case for me because it is cold and I don't want to be out here all night for this cook, I am going to wrap these ribs in foil with butter, a couple of pats of butter, and also I'm gonna add some I think I'm gonna add some honey to give it a little bit of a sweet profile as well. So we're gonna do it that way. Of course, you don't have to add honey, you don't have to wrap. You could go straight up, or what a lot of people will do is they'll get some barbecue sauce and start basting the ribs with barbecue sauce. You could do it that way. So lots of different options, but I think that's the route I'm going to take with these ribs. I'm going to add a little bit of honey to give them a bit of sweet. All right, barbecue family, the wrapped spare ribs have been on the smoker for 90 minutes. So I want to see where we are with these ribs. So again, we had them meat side down. And what I want to do is probe them. What I'm looking for is a temperature of at least 200 to 203. We are at 212. So these ribs are most definitely done. They're probably going to be the fall off the bone type that my family loves. Alright, so I'm going to get them off of the smoker, let them rest for a little bit, slice into them, and see what we got. Alright guys, the ribs have been sliced, and I gotta tell you, I am really pleased with how this rib turned out. Love the look, the color. You even got a little bit of a smoke ring. So really there's nothing left to do but to give it a taste. Love the tenderness, it's fall off the bone, but it's not mushy. And what I like best of all is that there's very good balance. These are really good flavors put together. All right, let me put this down so I can finish talking to you guys. So one thing that did surprise me is using the honey instead of brown sugar. That sweetness really didn't overpower the rib. Sometimes I've done that step at the end where you wrap it in foil, you add brown sugar and butter to help get the ribs really tender. But then sometimes, that sweetness from the sugar just kind of overpowers the rub. And that's really kind of how a competition style rib, a lot of times that's the process that's used when they're doing the competition ribs. And I got really tired of that, and I started to move away from, adding any kind of sugar, wrapping, just letting it stay on the smoker for the whole cook. But what I like about using the honey is that the sweetness is really subtle and it goes really well with the rub. And again, guys, this is a really good combination as well. It's not too spicy, but it's got It's just got a lot of good flavor that really complements the pork. So again, for the base layer, I use Meat Church Barbecue's honey bacon barbecue rub, and then followed that up with their fajita rub. So the combination of these things got the ribs really tender. As far as the PK, you know, there were some things that happened that I fully expected. Going in, I knew that I wanted to maintain 2-zone cooking, and because of the size of the PK, I knew that I would only be able to dedicate about 1/4 of the kick ash basket that I was using for the charcoal. So I knew going in that that might present some issues that would need to be managed. And that's really the key, is just paying attention. You know, don't walk away too long and just forget about it. You know, when you're cooking with coals, you know, you need to pay attention to those temperatures and what's happening inside of your cooker. So when the temperature started to drop, again, what I did to compensate for that was, you know, I opened up both of the intakes and then opened up fully both of the exhausts. So kept everything wide open for the duration of the cook. And I was able to keep my temperature between 225 and 275. My average temperature was around, I think, 235 to 240. And ultimately, I was able to get this done in less than 5 hours. It took 4 hours and 45 minutes, with the final 90 minutes with the ribs being wrapped in foil to help get them tender. So really pleased with the process. You know, I really haven't been using my PK much this year, so thanks again to you guys for you know, letting me know that you'd like to see more cooks with the PK. And, you know, after this, I mean, I kind of feel like these are some of the best ribs that I've ever made. So I will definitely be utilizing this process moving forward. All right, before this gets too cold. All right, guys, so my dog is in the background doing a lot of whining, and she's getting really impatient, so I'm gonna bring this to a close. Thank you for your support throughout the year. If this is your first time watching the channel, watching one of my videos, again, my name is Kenyatta Robinson. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. It definitely helps the channel. Share the video. And as we go into 2022, I want to wish all of you a happy new year. Get out there, use your barbecue grills and smokers throughout the year. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.